Hey guys, welcome back to Star Wars Timeline. My name is Ben. Here is my next review of the Star Wars The Ewoks show. We are on episode 4, To Save Deeg. Guys, thank you so much for recommending this show to me, asking me to watch it. I'm having a blast reviewing it for you. Without further ado, let's get into it, but here's your quick spoiler alert. If you didn't watch this episode yet, please turn away now, go see it. Come back and drop your comments. Let me know how you guys enjoyed it. Here's my personal review of this episode. We begin with another sunny day, and the Ewok family is chilling, they're hanging out, they're fishing. To Wicket, it seems like a chore. He gets bored quickly, and he jumps into the bushes, and boom, he encounters a new friend. He meets this very curious creature called Gupit. Okay, it looks pretty interesting to me. I'm assuming for kids who are not old enough to watch the live-action movies yet, obviously we see Ender Moon in Return of the Jedi, but to them, it's a whole new world. And you gotta expand on it, you gotta grow it, you gotta constantly introduce cool new things that the children are curious about. And this little creature is just, I don't know, he reminds me of a little gnome, a kind of like traditional fantasy element thrown into the Star Wars world. I don't mind it one bit. He's super cute, and he comes in handy during the rest of the story, which I really appreciate. Anyway, we meet Father Deeg, right? He's here, the father of the clan, he's fishing. Boom, he catches a giant fish on the hook. He's about to bring it out, and he needs the entire family's help. He's like, hey, I need help over here. Of course, Wicket comes to the help during the last moment, but he's too late. As Father Deeg is pulling this fish out, he goes backward, he smacks right into this tree, and he cuts himself on this deadly fungus. Right from the beginning, you know, it's kind of ominous. It's shimmering, it has that purplish look to it. So right away, I knew something is not right here. He smacks into it and he's ill. He's brought back to the village. As they're leaving, the Gupit says, hey, hold on a second. I want to help. But their family kind of discards him. They disregard the little creature. They're too preoccupied with their father. Once again, right away, I noticed that something is happening here. They're telling us that little creature will come in handy later on. Pretty simple show. It's very children-oriented. But the pacing is there. The writers of the show, they know what they're doing. They know how to tell a story. Now we're back at the village. Chief Logray is appraising the situation. He's looking at the father, and he says, aha, I've seen this kind of illness before. It is super dangerous. We got to do something about it. I need to create a potion. And he tasks our group, our family, with the classic quest. He's like, hey, you got an old journey and you got to find the 3 items for this potion that I need to make. Everyone go in, get it real quick before the time, is passed and it's too late. We need to get a star urchin from Dandelion Warriors. The moment that I heard that name, I'm like, ooh, something cool is really coming up. Dandelion Warriors is like a flower name, and the Warriors, which is very Star Warsy. Okay, let's see what that combination is about. Then we need to get Lantern Bird Feather, Lantern Birds. This is so much coolness for kids, like a bird that lights up like a lantern. Obviously, we see later in the episode, its tail lights up. Bioluminescent creatures. When I was a kid watching all the like Discovery Channel type of documentaries and underwater worlds and all these fishes that swim deep in the ocean and they have bioluminescence, that is super cool. Here we have a bird. Again, super exciting, very well done stuff. And of course, the last piece of the puzzles that they need for this potion is the frost lizard eggs. Once again, doesn't sound too scary just yet. Those are just some lizards, and we need to get some eggs. Anyway, the family goes out, but before they do, obviously, Ewoks, the curious and quirky creatures that they are, they're very inquisitive, as we see them in the Return of the Jedi. Willie drinks Logray's potion. He's like, what is this over here? I think I'm hungry. Boom! He swallows the whole freaking jar. And he turns into a gummy bear. And right away, I knew that this will come in handy once again later on. It didn't happen just as a pure accident. But for me, as a kid who grew up with gummy bears as a kid, I'm seeing too much of a parallel here. I'm like, hold on a second. Is somebody copying ideas from one show to another? We know that both shows actually launched the same year in 1987. I suspect that Gummi Bairs is a far more successful show at the time. It's Disney produced. it just has insane level of animation, production values. It's just a much, much more mainstream and richer show. So I would kind of assume some kind of creative licensing was taken as like, hey, let's have him bounce. I was sold on it. I'm like, okay, it's a special potion. It's a only one-time type of deal. Like, it doesn't interrupt the show for me. Let's keep rolling with it. As they exit the village, they realize like, hey, time is of essence and we need to split the group. This is a classic folktale motif, right? If you guys grew up with Hans Christian Andersen stories or Brothers Grimm, you know this is a popular device. Like, not only you need all of these elements to combine into a potion or magical thing to resolve the situation, but also all the members of the group need to contribute. And so far, I'm 4 episodes into the show, and I really like how the runners of this show are exploiting that. They're saying that, look, who these Ewoks are. They have this tribal society, and they greatly depend upon one another. They really need each other's help. This is a community. This is how they work best. I really, really enjoy that, and it's being reinforced in this episode too when they say, look, we gotta split. So Willie, you get the task to get the Lanternbird's nest. Accident is coming in. A bird probably perched up somewhere high on the tree. He's kind of bouncing. Whether the Ewoks were consciously thinking of his current state where he is able to float about or not, either way, it's pretty cool. He gets that assignment. Wicked and his new friend, who now calls himself Ring Ring, they're to go to the land of Dandelion Warriors. This is the aspect of the episode I'm looking forward to the most. Like, who the heck are these Dandelion Warriors? Like, what the heck is this? Is it just a name? Are they just going to go in some kind of field and encounter plants or some deep forest and just extract whatever they need? Okay. But later on, as we get in the adventure and we see what they encounter, not only it presents one of the coolest action sequences in the show up to date, I really love how they're firing all of those little spears and like pa 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 and like spearing all over the fields. And of course, Ring Ring being the more nimble one, he's like, hey, I'm gonna run around, distract them. And you go and find that little part that we need, the Dandelion Warriors, the star urchin of them. But they don't even know where to look. Once again, I really like how they are expanding upon the flora and fauna of Endor Moon. Me as an adult, it's easy to interpret what is being done here. It's a kid-oriented show, and they're doing all sorts of things they want to do. They create magical elements. They create creatures which are a lot closer to fantasy elements than Star Wars. I'm totally fine with it, guys. As long as it feels like it's still part of Endor Moon, the kid version, I'm in there. I'm enjoying it. Weechi is the one that seems to have the most trouble. He goes deep into this cave. He is just looking for some eggs, and they stick all over his body. And suddenly these lizards attack. They kind of look like strange combination of hippos, crocodiles, and they have 6 legs, 6 limbs. Very cool. I don't know why. For some reason, I was thinking of Woola from the Martian Chronicles, the Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars. Woola creature described to have these 6 limbs, and she also runs very quickly, very nimble creature. I was thinking of that for a moment. Anyway, he's escaping the cave, and he drops into this waterfall, and he's like clinging onto a branch for his dear life. And obviously the family has to come in. He's like, hey, we gotta help him. Let's help him out. Once again, family working together as a unit. And he has that really cool vine swinging moment where, boom, he goes back to the bottom of the forest and he lands on the ground and he's safely rescued. But now all of the family is being chased by the lizards and they're trapped on this plateau. And funny moment, Willie actually comes down. He tries to reason with the lizards. He like points a finger. He's like, shame on you. How dare you guys prevent us from our quest when we're trying to help our father? You just don't do this. And lizards like are listening for a couple of seconds. What do they do being the lizards that they are? They're not sentient. Boom, they're back on the attack. And Willie's back to the plateau. And I really like the rescue part, the grand escape. Because this is a part where we're seemingly in a situation where that's it. This is the dead end. What's going to happen next? There is nowhere to ask help from anymore. They exhausted all of their options, and a miracle happens. And I don't think that it was just a cheap giveaway. It's like, hey, this is where the episode needs to end. Let's just escape quickly. No. What Rin Rin asks the entire family to do is work together. He says, look, I need you to concentrate, guys. I need you to imagine the huge bird or something flying that will help you escape. And I think it's the power of their belief that helps them transform into this creature. That it's innate ability to copycat or maybe mimic creatures, or maybe be an empath and listen to what other sentient creatures are telling it to do, and only then its ability is unlocked. So it seems like only both elements combined worked. If he was on his own, that would have never happened. Or if the Ewoks did not believe in this miracle, it would also not happen, because you see them concentrate really hard. They're like, oh man, I don't believe this is going to happen, but we got to do our best. And they believe, and the power of belief creates this beautiful, exotic avian creature that basically helps the friends fly away, and they're back to the village. As they're running in, the mom is like really crying. She's like, oh, they're too late. So the Chief Logray is like really droopy. We know it's a very dire situation, right? And as Wicket comes in and they deliver all the potion items, he's crying by his father's bedside. And I felt it was like, oh man, that's a really, really touching little moment there, and an important moment. It's a teachable lesson that, look, kind of showing the kids that sometimes your loved one could get sick, but everything will turn out at the end. Everything will be fine. Obviously, we see a little bit of that in the classic Disney film Bambi, right, which was made during World War II, and a lot of younger children resonated with it because their fathers unfortunately didn't come home, and mothers had to explain, and the families had to cope with young men never coming back from the devastating war, and that's what Bambi was all about. And because it was done in such a sweet and loving animated form, the information was a lot more digestible to children. They were kind of dealing with their emotions, I guess. Here, it's a little bit, shorter format. It's just a small episode. At the moment, it's very brief. Nonetheless, very, very important. We see that Wicket is grieving. He wants his dad to fully recover. And Master Logray, the Chief Logray, he's like putting the magical potion over the little Ewok bear. And obviously, he comes back. And that's where the episode cuts off. Like, hey, we saved the day. Boom. Everything is great now. This is how I want stories to end. Don't overstay your welcome. When we grew up with our favorite adventure and fantasy films and action movies in general, they never overstayed their welcome. It ends on a high note. The friends win the day. They save their loved one. They save Deeg. And boom, the episode ends here. Guys, once again, I'm super impressed. Is it wrong to say that I'm enjoying a children's show more than the Book of Boba Fett? I'm sort of kidding, but I'm not. I guess what I really appreciate about this show, for what it is, it's very consistent. Each episode focuses on the same ideas. It reinforces the same concepts. It is saying, look, this is a family-oriented show. This is a community of Ewoks who have to work together. Everyone has to contribute, and every member is important. That's how they survive. They're resourceful. They're smart. They're heartfelt and like these passionate creatures, and they're kind and good. So many cool lessons there to teach children. I think, once again, I want to thank Disney Plus for making this available once again, because otherwise we wouldn't have access to this show. It's not being televised anymore. I don't know if you can buy a DVD at this point or not. Maybe it's somewhere on Amazon, but now it's widely accessible to everyone. If I were to rate this episode, I might sound like a broken record. This is another 4 out of 4 episode for me. Very sweet moments there, very cool teachable stuff for children, and the action was really, really exciting, really rousing. I really loved the little Goopit running around from the Dandelion Warriors as they're shooting these little spears, and I'm like, that is really cool. Beautifully animated. Once again, one thing I forgot to mention, guys, is that I love the fields. I love the forest. It just has that classical fantasy forest vibe to it. And yet, when we see the village and the tall trees there, and we see their huts being like perched on top and little walkways, you instantly recognize the imagery. It's so iconic. You know it's the Ewok village. You know you're still watching Star Wars. Anyway, 4 out of 4 episode. Crazy fun. I'm super greedy. I'm so upset the show is only 2 seasons long. Guys, let me know what you thought of this particular episode. Did you make that little connection to Gummi Bairs as I did? Is just a happy accident? Is it a trope that's been used in other fantasy shows? Or is it like a direct copycat of Gummi Bairs, which I'm not even going to fault this show for. It's a smaller, lesser known show. Fine, it's cool. I really enjoyed it. Once again, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're looking forward to my next review of the Ewoks show, please consider subscribing, hit that bell button, and I'll see you guys next time.